emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Don't take it personally. Highly emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Don't take it personally. Highly emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Don't take it personally.
Blame it on the party, blame it on the booze. Grab a gun if you want it. Make fake news on the news. Wipe your tears, cry, baby, baby, baby. Ooh, it's not about you. I don't even get it. Why you got the blues and the world on your shoulders? Walk in every shoe, wipe your tears, drink up and dance like we all lose. It's not about you.
Highly emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Highly emotional, baby. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. Personally, personally. Don't take it personally. Don't take it. Don't take it personally. Don't take it. Don't take it personally. Personally, personally. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally.
Blame it on the party, blame it.
All right, welcome to the to my live stream tonight. And hi Siren, I just put you put your sign up there for just a minute. We got Siren, we got John, we have Okay. I don't know who John is, but okay. Hi. Oh, it's insulting. Okay. Well, actually, John, we're kind of poking fun at this, so let's be honest. There's been zero proof that this whole super soldier thing is even a thing, and the people presented as such are far from super soldiers. Agreed. Agreed. That's why. Thank you, John. I'm glad you like the intro. That's nice. Yeah, I agree with you. The super soldier uh, forum, conspiracy, if you will, is really. I've been following it for a long time, and it's quite compelling. And I think it's something to kind of like look back in retro as well. It looks like some of the only people that are really pushing the super soldier stuff mainly is like James Rink right now. Of course, there's like Corey Good, and it overlaps with all the other UFO theories out there. I interviewed a few super soldiers in my time, and at one point I bought into it on some level. And then I pulled away. And so now this is part of the pulling away process. One super soldier, I mean, it's fun to watch because it's sci-fi and movies and everything all wrapped up in one. And you want to believe that something's out there. I think as people, we've almost been conditioned through, Marvel comics and comic books and everything to want to have some sort of superhero. We like having a savior of sorts, something with some type of human hybrid with special abilities. I'm gonna pull this down here. Maybe I think I have like a little too much head space on top there. I'm trying to like this is rule of thirds. Okay, so I made some mint tea and I also made some popcorn because this one's a good one. I mean, this super soldier was the one, like, I don't know, part dolphin. I'm not sure, but there's something, Aaron McCollum, and I'm sorry, I'm sad to see that he's homeless, but he has that sort of like he could have, like, porno for pyro, Perry Farrell sort of James Addiction look, like as if he could also be playing for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's got the tattoos and the tattoos on his knuckles and the earrings, and just this real. I mean, like he talks about living in the Portland area, the Vancouver, Washington area. Yeah, of course, he looks like he belongs there, like because I went there a lot. I performed up there a lot, and so I was in that state a lot of times, months in that area. I know, and then plus that same look permeated down to Los Angeles, and I mean. He says he's 31. All right, back in the day, like let's say like in 1996 or something like that, and I was hanging out at the Colorado bar in Pasadena, I'd be like, oh yeah, that guy. I'd do him. I'm joking, but he's got that kind of, he has a look. And the reason why I bring that up is because it's all show business, baby. I mean, look at a lot of the super soldiers that are out there. They're pretty good looking, a lot of them. I mean, even Duncan O'Finian, without his teeth, is still kind of, majestic. There's pictures of him with a shillelagh and, a big old, a cape and looking all, mystical. Like, I just came out of the Middle Earth and now I'm going to save you. There's just, that's not an accident to take a picture like that. It's called marketing. So... Anyway, we should probably get started on the video because I haven't done this. I haven't done a show of this nature in a while, and I've been distracted. But I think it's good to get back to doing some super soldier stuff and going over the this old Carrie Cassidy interview, and I think it's kind of like a little cheery, like it's like a classic retro super soldier thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my YouTube here for a moment. My internet, I mean, I'm near the Wi-Fi box, but for some reason it feels a little laggy, and so I try not to have too many windows open while I'm streaming tonight, because hopefully everything goes okay. All right, so oh no, this is my video. Oh no, this is it. Okay. No, that's not the one I want. Wait, was that the one? No, hold on. Sorry about this. Maybe I should play like a song. Yeah, I guess that is it. Yeah, because the other one he's wearing a hat. There's two, I can only find two Project Seagate videos out there. Now, when you watch this video, hey, Truth Seekers. Yeah, I've been a slacker a little bit, but I'm back on it. So, okay, so this, like, when you watch the video, you hear at some point you hear him say, "This is our third interview." So apparently there were two above this, and I think there might have been like, I don't know, I can't tell, but I can only find two out there. So tonight we're gonna look at this one. So. Yeah, nice to see. I'm gonna put shout out to Truth Seekers. Yay. Yeah, I've been a little bit slacker, but I just got done doing college, and I don't know, it was, I had 15 units, so I kind of had to recover a little bit from that too as well. But I ended up, just to brag, I ended up with all A's and 1 B. So I had 5 classes, 4 were A's, and the 1 was a B. My B was my digital journalism class. So anyway, not bad. I'm not gonna it wasn't exactly a 4.0 this semester, but I got damn close. Wait, okay, I want to see what John's saying to Stephen. Slacker, Stephen, you are like a Jedi master at time management. How do you do it? It is impressive. Yeah, he is. He is a Jedi master at time management. Man, I might have to put in I'm gonna add put my air conditioner on too for a moment. And while I do that, I'm gonna start the video, and let's get your popcorn. This is fun. Here we go. Aaron McCollum interviewed. Project Seagate interviewed by Carrie Cassidy. Can you guys hear it okay? I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking I'm not hearing it through my other thing here. Maybe I've got earphones on, but I just want to make sure I had the tab on right. Yeah, all right, that should be working. Here we go.
This is Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I'm here with Aaron McCollum, and he is a third generation from the Project Talent MK Ultra experiments on building super soldiers and other human beings that have capabilities far beyond the normal.
I would class myself as being part of the third generation of what was known as Project Talent, but then my real role was actually being, you could say, bred and trained for a certain project that was known as Project Seagate. But of course, there's so much that I've uncovered and discovered, and through family and other means, that really makes this such a rabbit hole. To give myself one label is kind of difficult. But I guess for the people, I mean, went through the training process.
Yeah, I agree, Stephen, that he's definitely balding. There's a lot of definitely balding, fat super soldiers out there. But I didn't take when I put my earplugs out to talk, I hear myself, and I didn't want to hear myself, so I got a little distracted there. But I agree with you. Like, for example, I don't think that James Rink, to me, doesn't look like, like he does. He looks like he just doesn't look like a soldier to me in his physique. He looks kind of small, and just I'm like, well, what did you do? But this guy, I can almost believe that he was in the military just because of his physique, and he seems like he is. But I'm not saying I believe this, but I'm just saying he fits the bill better.
Process of Project Talent, which is kind of like the recruiting / talent, you could say, agency that the government uses for finding people that they want to use for certain projects.
Okay, Aaron, we have met before, and we went over the Gulf of Aden and what was going on there with the Stargate and so on. At the moment, I'm not sure if there's any new activity that you're aware of that's going on there. I have gotten some information, not a lot, and some verification of what you were talking about. And we also got sort of a nod from Bob Dean recently in my interview, although he was very careful in the way that he acknowledged that information.
He sure was. The information, they really put a huge lockdown on what's going on. I think they realized that a lot of information was, so to speak, getting leaked from many sources, and the security there has increased.
And then I saw what John said. John said, it's like, has this guy been to prison before? And it's like, yeah, probably. Or maybe he does have that kind of look about them, and we don't know these guys. I will say this, that some people that are associated with Carrie Cassidy, like for example, Alice Collier, he definitely has been to prison before. He's really known as Ralph Armagron, and he's the guy. He'll be mentioned in this by Aaron McCollum, because he'll let us know that like the aliens that are overseeing him or protecting him are the Arturians. So he gets brought up. So yeah, some people from Carrie Cassidy have actually been to prison, including, let's just throw him in there, the most obvious one is Captain Mark Richards, who's currently in prison, but he's a secret space program hero. So let's continue.
Immensely. As far as updated information, I don't have a lot, but what I can tell you is that from what I was told by a source of naval intelligence is that there's actually two, you could say, perimeters that have been created. They have a general perimeter that is what the public is being known as kind of the security zone to stop the piracy. Then within that zone, what I was told was about in a 3-mile diameter circumference are other ships that are watching over a certain area of the Gulf. From what I've been told, this is the general area of where this Stargate anomaly is occurring, where it's opening up, closing up, and whatever else is transpiring there, which are theories I talked about in the first interview, whether it's for good or bad or something that's out of their control and it's really just fear. I'm leaning more towards it's something that's out of their control, and that's why it's such a lockdown, and here's why. There's a website that was shown to me that I don't remember the name of the website, but it basically shows all commercial vessel traffic that happens in the world. And if you get on that website and you can zoom in on the area of the Gulf of Aden, there's no traffic is shown. They've completely blocked it out. This is a website anybody can access. In fact, remind me and I'll send you that so you can look at that. So it's very
Sounds
interesting.
Fascinating, yeah.
There has been a few more Al-Qaeda or CIA Al-Qaeda, as I like to say, operations happen there. Just recently, there was a supposed planned bombing of the UK embassy, but it had failed. So there is some more military movement by the USA and the UK.
It gets a little bit boring in here, so I hope you guys don't mind. I'm just going to kind of skip it more to more juicier parts because, there's the first part, he doesn't get into the woo until a little bit later. And so let's try about right here.
More violent, I guess, being subjected to violence to really create, for me to be numb to it, that really kicked off between 8 and 9 years old. There was a lot that happened there. There was a place I was taken to with, again, the same group of kids about.
Oh yeah, okay, let me take it back a little bit more because he explains that he goes into how he was a child and he was in the pool and he had to be underwater for a really long time. So let's go to there.
Really don't remember much. But then when we get to around the age 5 is when my initial training really began. A lot of the memories are kind of fragmented, but what I'll do is I'll give you the best of what I have, of what I absolutely remember. The place that my family lived at in Oregon when I was that age, we had a military facility that was nearby. I don't remember the name of the facility, but I know that it was a place that my father worked at. He wasn't in the military at the time, but it was a government job. I wasn't taken there by my father, but I was taken there by someone, and then I would be.
I don't like that thing. It looks like has he been to prison before? To me, he's mostly he might have had a drug problem before, because there's parts in this that he seems to me like he might be a little bit speedy, but that's just an analysis. Again, I have no proof about that, but if you were gonna profile somebody, I would say he was more inclined to have maybe a drug problem. And he is he's an entertainer. He probably is a musician or does play music or hangs around where music is at. And there are people that they can make up a whole story. They can just lie. He could be an actor. He could be improvising this. This could be just a really good improv Carrie Cassidy actor interview. He's been cast as a super soldier to go with the super soldier group, to go on the forums and everything like that, because even if you were to make a movie about super soldiers, you might cast him in a part, right? So that's kind of what I think. My guess is something perhaps on this level's happening, or he's just a major grifter, and he someone went, hey, you want to make some quick money? Don't you know Finian's doing it? Come over here, and then you can be a super soldier and go and carry Cassidy and go on these forums and be like a rock star and then sell these products. Because he's going to have something he's going to say in here where he is he had this special drink for his own detox specifically concocted for him. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that's his new product. That's what he was going to possibly pitch out there to grift on.
Be taken to this house with this gentleman that I know was much older, and I know that his name was Mike. I've gotten confirmation of this name and this place through my sister. At this house,
one thing too that you should watch what he does is that he will verify his information by including somebody else. I got this information from my sister, this person. So I'm going to point those things out to you too, because I think those are little hiccups and little red flags that he's having to that's a trick. My sister said this and my brother was this too, and this happened to my brother, and so let's keep going.
I was put through various things. One of the things I remember was being put into, it wasn't necessarily a closet, but it was definitely a small room, almost it was a constructed compartment that was quite small, soundproof and pitch black. I would be put in there and I would be in there for hours at a time. It was what I am discovering now, you could say a sensory deprivation chamber. Now, being 5 years old and being put into one of these, I mean, you can imagine what it must have been like, the memory or the imagination, being in the dark.
Sorry.
And I went through this process a lot. One of the other things I remember, and I don't know from point A to point B how I got up to this point, but I remember being asked to walk across it was like a driveway, but the rocks, it was all gravel. The rocks were very hot. Summers down there were very hot. So it was just, I believe that they were just heating naturally through the sun. And I had to walk across it. And I remember walking across it and not reacting, and then being told to stop halfway and look down, and I'm barefoot, and then walking across. So what transpired prior to that to make me be able to not react to the heat, to the pain, I don't remember, but I definitely know that was a fact. And I would have burn marks on the bottom of my.
Also, you'll notice that one trope that all the super soldiers have, a lot of them, is that they were trained as children, that they were recruited as children, and it's also based on their DNA. There's something about them. There's something about their family line that makes them primed to be a super soldier.
On my feet, but not react to them.
When you were put into the chamber, do you remember being afraid?
You know, that's an interesting question. I imagine at the time I was, but.
And here's another thing about him too. He's already very serious. There's like this sort of intensity and almost like as if he's having horror in his own memories when he's talking about it. So there's this automatic, like, because I am showing an emotion or an intensity about what I'm talking about, it must be really real.
I don't really recognize or quite even understand that emotion of fear now. There were a lot of emotions that were taken out of me that, and this is we can get into a little bit later on, that I've almost had to mimic in a way to fit into the world I'm in now since December of 2005.
You had this sort of sensory training.
Sensory and definitely pain training, but then there's other things I remember, such as being with a group of kids that were my age and being taken to what is referred to now, from knowing later on, is referred to as the camps.
It's always a bunch of kids, right? A bunch of kids my age. We're taken to a facility. We're taken to camps. Here we go.
The camps can be anywhere from.
And the camps are already a theory. They're already, like that's part of, like he's sort of picking and saying things that other people have said before him. So it's part of super soldier truth. This is what happens.
A weekend to a week to a full summer. What these camps are government-funded training camps where you do a wide variety of things, everything from learning basic things such as rappelling, survival, even how to sharpen knives the proper way, using a knife, and weapons training, and even hand-to-hand combat. From 5 until 8, this was definitely something I remember doing in certain points, such as, having to go out.
Siren, are you asking me to describe the camp in more detail? They're all, I mean, in terms of like what the camps are like, they're all like, for each person, it's a little bit different, but usually it has been where they've, the kids are taken to these camps, and through these camps they're trained into their automatic, they're being picked for a secret space super soldier program.
Out and learn what to eat, how to survive, how to even make, you could say a fort or, like a makeshift tent. One memory that really stands out: when I was 8 years old, I was taken, and I believe I was with some family. I remember seeing my sister in this place, but it was actually up in Northern California. I don't exactly remember where. But where this place was at, they had a river that ran very, very cold. So I believe it had to have been during the wintertime. Now, who exactly did this, I don't know, but I'm getting to understand why this happened. Where I was for 7 days straight, repeatedly, each day for a certain amount of time was actually dunked, forcibly dunked over and over again into this water. Throughout, and I'll get into this later on, but throughout the years of childhood of this training that I was going through, a lot of it was very cold water submersion. I don't know if my core body temperature is related to that, but my body core temperature now averages between 96.5 and 97.6. So
Okay, I want
to
to
be 2 degrees colder than
for just a second about the 97.6 body temperature, because there's a rock band, no, an alternative radio station in Portland that is 97.6. And every time when the first time I heard him say it, I go, oh, is he talking about his hometown radio station? And then later on you see him talking about how he was living in Portland. So I don't know.
than what the normal body core temperature is.
But you don't have to wear a jacket as often as other people. Is that
No,
I mean, look how his eyes were blinking when he said that,
right?
not at all.
You don't feel cold as much.
Right. Cold weather doesn't really bother me that much. But at the same time, hot weather doesn't really bother. I acclimate, almost instantly to any kind of weather condition. Then the more violent, I guess being subjected to violence to really create, for me to be numb to it, that really.
And you can tell that, Carrie's edited pieces of this. There was more. There's something that maybe she just cut out and went, no, this is not going to go. You got to take this chunk out. I don't know.
Really kicked off between 8 and 9 years old. There was a lot that happened there. There was a place I was taken to with, again, the same group of kids, about maybe a dozen of us.
Carrie gives that, oh, I'm so interested look, her takeaway of her expression in the interview.
Where we were taken into this, there was actually this dugout that was made. I remember the dugout, and they called it the pit, where we actually had to go in, and now these are 8, 9-year-old, and we were told to fight. And it was fight until one of them gave up or until it was broken up.
Okay, Fight Club for kids. You know what? There is something that just came out recently about some kids that actually that they had a fight club that their parents were running. And I don't know if they were taking bets or what, but that did just recently come out of the media.
Pretty bloody.
Were they all boys or boys and girls?
It was all boys. It wasn't until maybe 8 years later when I started working, when there were some girls that were integrated into this training program that I was a part of.
So what about your parents?
It's good that, the Super Soldier programs lets girls come in and fight, be in combat.
Parents, what is their recall? Are you in touch with your mother, for example?
I'm in touch with my mother, but we don't really talk. It's not that I don't want to, but because of a lot that's come to surface that I've spoken with some family members, my mother is programmed in such a way that for me to bring this information to her could have really bad effects.
Well, but you're out doing radio shows.
She's going to say, get a job, all right? Go to Walmart, fill out an application, and get a damn job. That's what your mother's going to say to you. Yeah, she probably is going to have problems with you and this information.
Shows, you did our interview.
And she has absolutely no idea.
Okay.
any of it. It's not that I've kept it from her. It's just it hasn't been relayed to her. My father.
You don't want to relate it to your mother because you don't want your mother know that you're bullshitting this much. That's why you don't want to relate it to your mother. Matter of fact,
we've been.
Do people like, okay, if someone's on a grip, do people in their personal life, they go, hey, Aaron, I saw you do this video. It's really weird on YouTube where you were talking about being like a hybrid dolphin and like going in stargates, you know, hey man, what's up with that? Like, what do you do with that? Like obviously, like, what if you wanted to get employed? Maybe the reason why he's unemployed because this video is still out there, you know. Well, we really can't hire you at Burger King because you have a video. We are worried about your mental stability or if you're on drugs or not. Like what are you gonna do? Like, if you don't get on the super soldier gravy train, you're screwed when you say these things, right? It's almost like I made a choice and I might just go down. It's almost like, well, okay, I'll leave that thought out for the moment, but I'm gonna censor myself. Okay, let's continue.
Been in contact closely about this subject matter. Some of it he's having a hard time with, but then other things he is accepting. I introduced him to, it turns out that him and Dave Corso, I didn't know this until a little bit after Awake and Aware, that they actually lived in the same town. And in fact, my dad and Dave have history.
Okay, so here again, he's gonna say he's more important because his dad and Dave Corso had history. Dave Corso is like one of the first super soldier guys to come out, and you know, he's one of the first ones to like come on the scene with Duncan O'Finian. So, okay, so let's continue.
My dad has been dealing with a lot of blocked memories. So you could say, because of the history that my dad and Dave have, that he was part of the, you could say, as we have deemed it, the pre-generation program, kind of the prototype of what became what Duncan O'Finian was part of, and myself and others.
Mm-hmm. Was your father an officer in the military?
No, he was enlisted, but he was in the Marine Corps. And he did operations in the same locations.
Well, you notice that Carrie never, if you're going to do a feature story on somebody or whatever, it's a good idea to actually interview this guy's mom. Like, if you're going to do a documentary about this, you want to find this guy's mom and you want to find where he is and you want to find what his mom has been saying about him, saying this. That's a good question. Like, how does his family know? How did they feel about it? Did they find out about it? You know, it's like, son, you know, you're telling people that you're a dolphin hybrid and that you're in a special program and you're saying the rest of your siblings were too. Okay, so I don't know.
As Dave did, and they even encountered each other in other parts of the world.
During this time, you're going through these training sequences and you're
that was a weird glitch too. I'm wondering, like, is that just a glitch or was there something cut out?
being taken there by someone because you're a child, right? So who's taking you?
Well, mainly until I got to a little bit older, until I got to be 9, it was this guy known as Mike who knew, or my father knew him, but I really believe from talking with my father now that he was not aware of what was taking place. Because, you know, these camps, these training facilities, they are located all over the country, and there are parents who are not involved or did not have history of being involved, where, you know, the child is taken to maybe a summer camp or what they call outdoor school. They'll see them get on the same bus or get in the same carpool, but they're not taken to that location. They're taken elsewhere.
Okay.
So that does indeed happen.
And are some of your memories about going in, being separated from the other children?
Yes.
Or do you have any memories of that?
I do. I have some pretty intense memories of, well, one that I should have mentioned before, so let's backtrack. When I was 5, probably one of the most intense memories I have as a child was waking up during an operation procedure. It was a dark room. I just remember seeing people in obviously the operating type of garb, the masks, and I remember screaming. Now, things are a little fuzzy, but what I do remember is seeing this machine above me with these wires and these tubes going into my left knee. And then all of a sudden hearing commotion and then knocking back out. So I woke up during some kind of procedure they were doing to me.
Okay, but what is the significance of your left knee? Do you have any special sensation or anything there?
I have a lot of interesting things that happen physically with me, and I've had a lot of different surgeries where I would see some of the medical records and then they would wind up disappearing. In fact, to this day, even up to, a year and a half ago, I went to go get an MRI done and a CT scan, some x-rays done, because I was having some unusual things occurring with my shoulder, my arm, even with my neck, my head, and my hips. At first, I would ask to see the images, and they would tell me, oh, they're getting processed. You can come back later to see them. And then I would go down to the records office, and they would have some of my medical record, but they wouldn't have any of the images. So I've never been allowed to see any of my x-ray or any of the scanned images of my body.
Okay, so let's go from the age of, I don't know, you said at 9 you were being given this training that seemed kind of to start verging on the military.
Yes.
So at what point, did this escalate, and do you have memories in between that age, say in the age of whenever you enlisted? Did you enlist?
Oh, yes.
You enlisted,
Well,
didn't you?
Enlisted would imply that I volunteered, when indeed I was told. I was directed. I will get in that in a second, but let's go with a few other things that I do remember.
Okay.
One that I've talked about before to several other people, I don't remember if I mentioned to you, was in this process, you go through what is evaluations. In this evaluation, what happens is one or whomever passes goes up to the next level, and the rest, well, I don't know what they do with them, but you don't see the kids that you were with. And I'll give you an example. When I was 9, this is when we were living out in the desert, I was again taken with the same group of kids, and we were taken out to this field. It was a pretty large field, mostly flat, had some sage, a few rocks, and out there they had maybe 20 or 30 of these large, I would say there were maybe 3 or 4 foot by 4 foot boards, like plywood, that were scattered all throughout this huge field, acres and acres. Myself and the other kids, by this time there was, I think, 8 of us. We were all put into a line, shoulder to shoulder, but with about 20 feet distance from each other. I'm sure we were given task directions. I don't remember, but what I do remember is that we were then to walk out to this field. I see a board. Now, I'd walked by a few boards, but I see one. And now I usually go right-handed, but for some reason I decided to pick up a corner.
I kind of feel like, okay, this is like a really like boring story. It's like, where is it going? It's like, it's got this sort of like, this is like really important. I got to talk about it. And it really kind of like flattens out and leads to nowhere. So I'm going to skip up. I missed the part. I skipped up 2 past where he talks about being a little boy and getting thrown into a pool and then allowed to be in the water for 12 minutes when they get him. But that's part of this video too. And I'm going to make sure that if you want to watch this on your own, I just like, there's so much time. This is a long video and I just want to get to the good parts. And then, because even with talking and stopping, it's even longer and I don't want to like, this is a 3-hour show, but It might end up that way, but I hope not. Okay, so basically he talks about how like he was a kid thrown in the water underwater for like 12, 14 minutes. They pulled him out. I guess that made him like, because he's going to be like the dolphin boy. They're going to groom him over time. And so, but let's get where it gets better. So let me see where we at here.
Where to be seen. I said, well, how long was I gone? And David's response was about 12 minutes. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what transpired. But I do remember them telling me that, and they were definitely in a panic.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
That happened.
Maybe that was it. Let's go back here a little bit. Here, wait.
Specific location from a specific place and delivered to another place. Also, invading into a house and grabbing something else. They were testing our skills. Could we get in and could we get out quietly? Could we work cohesive as a group?
Oh, okay, yeah. This is kind of interesting. Let me go back a little farther. It's pretty wild.
And I mean, that's would be a pretty traumatic experience, but nothing.
So you went through that. Then what happened?
Okay, then I went up to the next step where I was introduced to another group of kids who had moved up through their training processes. Obviously, they were part of something else, and then we were brought together.
And are you in Northern California or are you in Oregon at this point?
I was in Oregon. I grew up in Oregon, but on occasion, I would be taken down to either Northern or Southern California to go through other training. I did a lot on the coast where I was actually doing some interaction with dolphins. That was a whole other side of things. When I was taken down to California during summertime, it was all about working with water, working with dolphins.
But you were taken away from your parents, or your parents went down there with
We
family?
all went together.
Family
It was a
trips?
vacation, but then I would be taken separately. My sister, again, I don't want to get too much into like my brother and my sister, but let's just say that my sister would be taken to another location, and then my brother would. And sometimes I would return to Oregon, and my sister would stay, or my brother and I would return, my sister would return, and I would stay. They mixed it up.
Okay, but your sister is also has been through a program like you, and your brother is an autistic who is absolutely brilliant in working on the secret space program. So let's at least say that.
Well, yeah,
Let's bring out the brother and the sister, right? I mean, why not? But they never appear. But apparently, his brother and sister are in it. He's autistic. They're going to talk about how autistic children are part of the star, like it's a star system thing. Like if you're a star seed, they're star seeds. They're Syrian. It's going to make a connection later on with Syrians and dolphin spirits going into people's bodies. It's going to get. Hold on here. It's going to crank up. Don't lose faith.
Okay, I don't want to say names, but yes, I will say this. My sister was part of a separate program that she was selected at a very young age.
And she has some memories?
She's got more than I do.
Okay.
My sister and I spent several days together doing nothing but talking about this. She revealed more to me than I had any idea of as far as her. And then we in turn discussed our brother, who is still actively involved. But it's a difficult and complicated situation that we're trying to figure out how to deal with.
Okay, so from there, you said you joined another group of kids who somehow made it up to another level. And what did that level consist of at that point?
This level was interesting. This level consisted of a lot of dark things, and I still don't know why. We were introduced to this occult type group that had their own encampments that we would go to, where a lot of dark rituals were practiced. There was this location that specifically my sister and I would be taken to by these older people. I don't remember how much older. And where we were taken, and there was this pathway that we'd have to go down to that was very dark, and you would almost feel drained in some way. Then a lot of what I originally thought were hallucinations, where I was seeing things, I was having to drink certain things or having some violent reactions to me. I was becoming a very different person. I was going through a lot of pain. I remember a lot of pain. It was, I just remember a lot of dark, you could say evil, ritualistic things that I was subjected to.
So it sounds like the typical Illuminati indoctrination of a young person.
I would say so, yes.
And I'm assuming you're, not saying
you know,
it
so
sounds
Terry
like you're
Cassis
obsessed.
always comes in and defines somebody's experience for them. Because she's the expert on this. See how it works, right? Okay.
Cool. Rituals involved here.
Yes, there was. But that also was going on at a younger age, where I would be taken to which was a Catholic church, which there is, not to say that the whole Catholic Church is evil, but there is a sect of the Catholic Church that's run by someone that's known as the Black Pope that has very much involvement with a lot of the projects done all around the world. The Black Pope in the black side of the Vatican has had a very vested interest in Mark Ultra projects.
Okay,
so
and also, okay, so now we throw in the Black Pope, which is also part of conspiracy world. That's interesting. That's an interesting pause right there, because it's like he's looking down. To me, he looks more like he's lying, or he's, coming. Like he's not. To me, that's a dishonest look right there. It's shifty a little bit, but that's just my opinion. Okay, let's keep going.
Yes, I was subjected to dark sexual rituals and other things at this certain church where I would have to go to at night.
Yeah, okay, and they all
There was a lot
were
that
ritually abused. Okay, they were all ritually abused. That's another trope. A lot of them were ritually abused. So, and let's just think about how this plays into some of the other types of cults or groups, like the 17th letter of the alphabet. Like these guys were feeding these kind of theories that were created a lot of hysteria politically.
Transpired at night. Again, when I got older, and even when I was 11, 12, we would be given assignments, training exercises. And so I would have people come over to my house. My mother was under the impression that this was just like a sleepover, young boy sleepover. But we would have gear that was provided to us. I'm talking imagine tactical gear for a young kid. And we would have various assignments to go steal a car from a specific location, from a specific place, and deliver it to another place. Also, invading into a house and grabbing something else. They were testing our skills. Could we get in and could we get out quietly? Could we work cohesive as a group?
Okay, and how many kids were in a group?
At this point, there were 6.
Can you imagine
Okay.
that? I mean, do you guys remember your slumber parties? It's like our big deal was escaping and TPing the neighborhood, right? Going out, sneaking out with toilet paper. That was our, big adventure I remember doing when I had, sleepovers or slumber parties. But these guys, they were allowed to steal cars and break into people's houses and steal their jewelry and stuff, to see, because government agencies or the military wanted to see if they were capable of doing it. Because this is what they want a soldier to be able to do. All right.
Okay, and do you remember those children at all?
I remember their faces. I don't remember their names. I do remember faces.
Okay. So
Do you guys remember names of people at your slumber party? I do. The one that I'm talking about with the TP was Paris Daly. Yeah, it was her birthday party. And then we were like TPing, and then we did a great job too. We really got the neighborhood. And then when we tried to get back inside the house, we got locked out. There were like 12 girls outside going, oh my God, we're locked out. And we were out there for the longest time. Finally, we got inside, and then somehow, I guess our little brother woke up or something like that. And then we were like, we got to get our sleeping bags. Anyway, like I'm having a past memory, but that to me was like, a sleepover.
Fast forward, is there anything else before the time when you were told to enlist?
There is one other incident that I would like to share. We had a house that was funded by the government. It was like a little, you could say it was a getaway house for
Everything's funded by the government. Everything.
R&R that we could use at any time we wanted. And it was located on a lake up in northern Oregon. And there was one week in
now I'm lying.
particular during the summertime where they gave us a full week off. And they told us to go to the house. This house, literally, you walk in and it was filled with alcohol. This is when I'm 16. It's filled with alcohol. It's filled with food. It was even filled with any drugs. Anything you wanted, they provided. Now, let me just try to make this quick. We had a boathouse. It was literally on the lake. And, of course, the boathouse rested on the water. So this will explain there was no air gaps underneath the boathouse. It was just solid water. A natural rock formation caused like the snake-like form, almost like a cavern that you could swim from one side of the boathouse to the other. Well, I always loved being in the water and holding my breath for a long time. We had a platform that we jump off of. Now, I jumped off the platform on one of the many times I did, and I went underneath. And then I simply, the next thing I remember is resurfacing. But the problem is when I resurfaced, there were other people on this training team, the other kids. Two of the guys were frantically in the water looking for me. And this time we did have two girls that were part of it, and they were a little bit freaked out. And I said, what's the problem? One of the guys who I don't remember his name, David, said, we thought you had drowned. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we went underneath there, Aaron. We looked for you. You were nowhere to be seen. I said, well, how long was I gone? And David's response was about 12 minutes. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what transpired. But I do remember them telling me that, and they were definitely in a panic.
Okay.
All right,
That
so
happened.
that means that you can, be underwater long, and I don't know, just like his cadence again. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit more. We're gonna go a little bit more. Let's go to here.
Was obviously
Okay,
You
we're
can't-
getting ahead of
I know
ourselves here.
we're really getting ahead. I'm sorry.
But just to fill in the blank here, so that we don't miss it, who were you working for in 2005 such that they took what you had? Do you
Well,
know?
I was working I was working two sides of things. I was wearing my hat as Petty Officer McCollum in the U.S. Coast Guard, and I was wearing my other hat as
We should
Cyril.
look up if there is actually an Officer McCollum in the U.S. Coast Guard. Like, how do we even know that this guy's name is really Aaron McCollum? How do we know what his real name is?
Girl number 13-03957 for Project Seagate, which was an underwater facility located off the west side of Puerto Rico.
Okay, so let's go back now. You've enlisted in the military. The 2 years have passed. It's time for you to report. I'm assuming you report. Is that what happens?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and at this point, you graduated from high school?
Yes.
Okay, so was it right after your graduation? Did you graduate in June and then report in
No.
September?
I graduated, well, yes, I did. I graduated in June and then I reported in September, yes. I literally 3 weeks after I turned 18. I turned 18 on September 6 of 96. And then that same month on the 30th, I reported.
Okay, so you reported, and then what happened?
Well, I went to regular Coast Guard boot camp, and then I reported to a unit that even when I reported the unit, the commanding officer there thought it was quite odd that I was there, because at this time, this unit that I was at, nobody went there straight out of boot camp. This was a very a special unit that did a whole wide range of things.
Before that too, so like I should probably reiterate that he said that he never really went to his classes in high school because he was constantly in training, and that he almost didn't get to graduate. Hey, baby fist, yeah, this guy is like this is not like we're believing it, okay? This is like a super someone underneath the super soldier banner. I don't know if you're familiar with the super soldier thing, baby fist, but there was since about maybe 2012, there were these guys that came on the scene, and they went on Project Camelot with Carrie Cassidy, and it became like this super soldier thing. You know, there was Duncan O'Finian, there was Max Spears, James Casbolt, this guy Aaron McCollum, and then there's been like a bunch of other super soldiers that have sprouted off of that. So, and they have these super soldier like forums, and they made like what was it? Miles Johnston from Basis Project, and expand from the UK, the United States. It's kind of like an interesting phenomenon. And back in like 2012, I got into watching these guys, and and now there's just droves of people, I think, that come out and they grift on this. So we're analyzing it. Like this guy looks like a rock star to me. He should have been in a band, but instead he is on the super soldier lineup. I always often wondered, like, if some of the super soldiers are, like, for example, Sarah Adams. Sarah Adams was really beautiful. Like, there's very few unattractive people that have been super soldiers, right? They have a look, some sort of something that, So I go, wouldn't it be weird if, like, they were super soldiers on Carrie Cassidy's, forum, but, on the other side, they were working as porn stars on the dark web. And that this was just kind of like the front for what they ever did. They had bound, chicka bound on the other side. I don't know. I'm just like, if I were to write a script about it, maybe, like a movie, I might throw that spin on this, and that would make it interesting. Have you seen, let me put my, okay, I'm not going to say that word on the stream, but yes. Oh, no, I haven't. I have not. I have not seen him talk about it. Can you put a link, or maybe I don't know, maybe put it if you can't do it here or something. Just think about me and leave a comment somewhere and go, here's that link of the shaman. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because he the shaman, the 17th letter of the alphabet shaman, right, that just got released, he falls underneath that star seed kind of thing. And this guy, Aaron McCollum, he's going to go in like a little bit later on in this and talk about how he's a star seed. Okay, all right, thanks. Yeah, I really appreciate that. That would be cool. I would love to see that. I love to see how everything kind of crosses over and connects. I'm thinking this interview, I don't know if you guys remember when this came out. I'm thinking it might be, it seems like it was earlier than this, but I still think I might have saw it in 2013, 2014, when I first saw him come on the scene.
From law enforcement, some drug interdiction, but mostly special op search and rescue. So, and this, because we don't really need to get into the regular Coast Guard side, but I will just say this. Every unit that I went to be regular Aaron McCollum Coast Guard were special units that were very hard to get, and I never selected them. They would be selected for me. And even
it's
on
always
3,
special. And does it? I'm sorry, but correct me if I'm wrong. Does the military action? Do they let you select things? Did you get to go like? Is it like college? Go, well, I think I'm going to do this elective and that elective and take this course, or is it like, you know what? You're in the kitchen. Go on the ship and start cooking. I don't know. I mean, you're an assassin. I mean, it seems like you're kind of you're going to be maybe chosen for certain things based on your skill. I'm just guessing.
3 units that I helped create, that I helped stand up these units. So I was put into a very unique position, and the reason why I was put in this unique position was I would be selected and placed in 2 places where I could do, you could say, the black ops.
Like, I kind of almost see him like going to poetry night. You know, like after the show, he went to poetry night at Dante's in Portland. You know, he went to the burlesque show at Dante's in Portland after he did this interview with Carrie Cassidy.
Operation side of things.
Okay. But you were put into a unit, you said it was somewhat sophisticated, and there was, I'm assuming, no one else at your young age or whatever?
At that time, no. A little bit, about a year later, they started to bring in a few other people my age. But at that time, there was no one close to my age.
Okay, and so how were you treated in those units? These are, I'm assuming, the normal special forces
very well.
units.
Very well. Well,
what does it mean to be treated very well?
Well, I mean, okay. Even back then, you know, hazing would occur. You know, you get a new guy in, and maybe they, you know, they tie you up and, you know, smack you around a little bit. They're not doing it out of being malicious. It's just kind of like such a detailed thing. And I just spent 2 hours on an interview talking about this. Military abductions, and I'll try to be brief. There are several targets. One, you have people that, let's say you have someone that is a remote viewer that was brought up as I was and is part of one of the many sub-projects under Mark Ultra. Well, let's say you have a scientist that was working on it. This said person, maybe they go out on a mission, or they defect, they run away. Programming is broken down and they don't want to be part of it anymore. So the team I was with do one of 2 things. We either terminate the subject, or we go and we grab them and we bring them back for reprogramming because they're still an asset and they still need to be used. So termination or military abduction.
Okay, and
that's one of many reasons for an abduction.
All right. Did you know that they were going to be terminated? Did you participate in the termination? Yes. And did you know who it was? In other words, did you know that this was an asset that had gone wrong, so to speak? We
would know all the information. We would receive their dossier because we had to know, you know, pretty much everything about them.
Okay, and is this the Black Ops side?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the Coast Guard side had nothing to do with this side.
Okay.
That was just that. You could say that was my cover. That was my front.
But you participated in the front organization.
Yes.
For only 2 years, or simultaneously the whole time?
Simultaneously the whole time. Because there were some Coast Guard operations that worked together. It was a balance. They do this with people like me, and it's not just the Coast Guard.
We're going to talk about Seagate more. He will pretty soon. He's going to talk about a little bit farther. He's going to get into how, you know, they're dolphin and human hybrids. Okay.
They have people like me that went into the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines. Sometimes I would even have them go into the CIA, FBI. They were infiltrated everywhere.
So let me just describe what I think you're talking about, and you tell me where I'm wrong.
Okay.
So they would send you on an operation that was an official kind of operation that was on the sort of official side.
Yes.
And your group would be working all the different angles, but you would basically be sort of like a double agent, and you would go out on sort of other missions that were tangential to that particular mission.
Exactly. Think of it as the known operation, the sanctioned operation was the umbrella to disguise what we were really doing. And it wasn't always a solo mission. You know, there was a team, but it wasn't until 2001, that things really kicked off for me as far as Project Seagate, and then the team that I was with, that I was in charge of, where things got very in depth. And basically, 2001 was the set point for everything that I had done up until that point, from the 3 years old up until 2000. There was three things that I forgot to mention, just because there's so much, and I'm trying to get everything in the allotted time. So let me just go with, let's start with the scar. There's a scar right here. I'm sure you can probably see it.
Yes.
That has been a mystery. The scar, here's the story I was told, that during delivery, I somehow got stuck, and they had to use metal forceps to grab my head in order to pull me out, you could say.
Okay, that's a normal, that's not a super soldier thing. Okay, that happens with, millions of births. But yeah, we do know what that is.
I've had doctors examine it. I've even done a lot of research on the internet, because you can actually look up like forceps scars on babies that have had that actual occurrence. None of them match this. This scar on occasions has raised. It's done things, changed color, even changed shape. Now, I have quite a few scars on my body, and usually even a little trace amount of hair will grow over scar tissue, at least the ones that I have. Yeah, and I was born with this, and hair has never grown over it. Now,
Okay, so no hair has grown over it. I'm pretty sure that is just normal too, as well. But like, it's an important deal. It means something, right?
Again, a lot of this is theory, but the fact that my parents don't remember the day I was born, each give me a different story. And when I asked my dad in person, Dad, tell me about how I got this scar. Tell me about when I was born. He started going off on an explanation, which I already knew was actually about a situation with my brother when he was born.
Okay, yeah.
And so then I thought, no, Dad,
your
okay,
parents,
maybe.
Like, that happens. Do your parents, like, are they elderly? Like, she's going to ask him, does your father have a drinking problem? I think she asks him that coming up. So she has something like that. Hold on.
He's older, maybe he's. I said, no, come on, Dad, tell me. And then he stopped, and he couldn't remember. And my mother can't remember. And then I'm told that when I was delivered and there was this procedure was done to me, that my mother didn't do anything about it. What mother wouldn't freak out if their newborn baby comes out and has got like a big gash in their head? I had been told by one inside source.
Yeah, but of course, there's some babies that come out with their head like looking like weird shaped because like it had trouble coming out of the birth canal. He's lucky that something else didn't happen to him with the forceps, because I think that it can even cause more damage, But he's fortunate just to have like a little a mild scar somewhere.
So it was basically he gave me a brief message and then disappeared. That some kind of surgical procedure was done to me while I was in womb. Many theories have come out about what exactly they did. Everything from some people saying, I think it was genetic modification, to an implant, to whatever. I don't know. I'm still working on that one. But,
okay. What hospital were you at?
Well, my birth certificate says the Kaiser Permanente in Fontana, California. But when you have family members saying, Aaron, you really need to question the legitimacy of that, and even another family member saying that they have doubts I was even born on September 6th, 1978. Family members that I do trust, and I don't trust only but a few of my family, which I'm sorry to say, but it's true.
Okay. Are you talking, I don't understand. I thought you lived in Oregon.
I did. Again, here's what I was told. I should have said this in the beginning. I was told that I was born in Fontana, California, and that when I was still an infant, I don't know how old, I think I was told 6 months old, my family suddenly moved up to Oregon.
Okay. And are you younger than your brother and sister?
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
Yes, my sister's the oldest, my brother's the middle, and I'm the youngest.
So in essence, your birth would have been the most recent for your parents in the timeline because you were the youngest.
Oh, yes.
So it's interesting that they don't remember.
That's,
Did your mother have a story associated with your birth or not?
I've heard several different things. My sister's asked, and she's heard several different stories. We don't know which one is the fact.
Okay. And I don't know if you want to answer this question, but did your mother use medication?
No.
And what did she do for a living, if anything?
She, if I remember right, gave up college to be with my dad. And here's another thing. My dad can't even remember how he met my mother. Another thing that I recently found out, along with a whole...
Is your father got a drinking problem?
No.
Is he on medication?
No. He doesn't even smoke cigarettes.
Interesting. But he has these memory losses.
He's got a lot of memory losses.
Okay, so let's go to the next thing, which is you said, okay, we've got the scar, we've got the
Yeah,
birth.
but his memory loss doesn't really. Look, how does that signify anything? Oh, he's got a lot of memory losses. Oh, okay. Sorry, I got like a kernel in the back of my throat, so I'm coughing a little bit. Plus some allergies and stuff. So, okay, here we go.
I guess the only third thing was that you said you just wanted to make sure and say that when you were young, around the age of 9, you started going on operations.
Oh, no, that was
as an observer.
That was older. I'm sorry. This was something I wanted, and this directly related to the military abduction side of the unit that I was with when we were under Operation Spyglass. It didn't happen all the time, but on maybe 4 or 5 occasions, just me, not the other people, the other kids, they were assigned to do other things later on. I would actually participate as an observer to live exercises, live military abductions.
When you say live military abductions, can you explain a little more about that?
Imagine, you know how people can go on a ride along with the police? They go to the police station, they ask they're interested in becoming a cop, so they don't wear any guns or anything, but they ride with the cop and they do a full shift. Imagine something similar to that, but not all night, just for one operation where you're observing what they're doing. It's kind of like furthermore acclimating to what is to come for you.
And how old were you?
That happened between 16 and 17.
Okay. And when you say a military abduction, did you ride in a UFO, for example?
I didn't ride in any UFOs at that time.
Okay. But did you ride in a craft of any kind to go on the abduction?
Yes.
What kind of craft?
On 2 occasions, it was a military helicopter. I was younger then. I didn't really know. I don't know what kind, but it was definitely a helicopter. Where I stayed in the helicopter. That's the thing. I didn't like go with them, and I was just there as an observer. That's it. It was just.
Okay, but
I'm not even sure really the exact. The only thing I can guess was that it was so that I would get an idea of how this ran.
Okay, but I'm assuming you went in the helicopter. There's not a lot of room in a helicopter. They're picking up. What are they doing?
They're picking
a
up
child?
On 2 of the occasions, it was women. It was young women.
Okay, so they pick them up, and you don't.
Oh shit. Wow, somehow I disconnected here. I'm sorry. I tripped. I moved, and I tripped, and then it kind of stopped for a second. Sorry about that. Okay, let's go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
How this ran.
Okay, but I'm assuming you went in the helicopter. There's not a lot of room in a helicopter. They're picking up, what are they doing? Picking up
They're picking
a
up
child?
on 2 of the occasions it was women. It was young women.
Okay, so they pick them up and you don't go with them to do the pickup. You stay in the helicopter.
I stayed in
they
the
bring the
helicopter.
person into the helicopter.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And we went to the facility. I stayed in the helicopter.
The facility, where was the facility? Do you know?
This facility that we went to was in northern Washington, somewhere in the area of Fort Lewis, which is a major Army base up there.
Okay, so you think it was on an Army base?
I don't remember. I mean, it was definitely a facility of some kind. I remember buildings. I remember military personnel being there. I remember that was somewhere up in. The only reason I remember this is because in when was it? In the rental, because I had somehow come in contact with someone I worked with prior to, and this is when I'm not remember anything. I don't remember how we wound up, but the person recognized me somehow through some means. So I drove up to Seattle, and I remember driving up past on I-5, going past the Dow Chemical headquarters, and then Fort Lewis, and then remember getting some pretty intense visions or flashbacks. But again, at this time, you have to remember, really from 2006 until the beginning of 2008, I just thought I was nuts. I mean, when you're waking up with cold sweats, when you're walking around, and then next thing you know, you're in a town or another state, and you don't remember how you got there, or when you're waking up and you've got blood on your hands, and you don't remember how you got that. I mean, that's a pretty hard thing for someone to deal with. That they have no idea even what they don't even remember their childhood. They don't remember a year before that.
Okay, so this is actually moving things forward quite a bit, because at the point that
Because that kind of gets me, like when he says like waking up with blood on your hands. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, if that's true, it seems like it wouldn't be something that you would want to say out loud that you woke up with blood on your hands, because if you're having missing time and space, you could think theoretically, they have multiple personality disorder, they're schizophrenic, they're doing things that they're not aware of. That's a really bad sign to wake up with blood in your hands and then to go and carry custody and admit it. I think I wouldn't be something that, I don't know, I just think that that's kind of, I just think it's kind of over the top.
left off now to fast forward to this point where you were going through these programs, you were already going on missions in Canada, that you're talking about picking up these people that were basically renegade agents of the government that had gone back.
So you guys, I don't know if you noticed in the chat tonight in the live stream, there you can vote on whether or not you think Aaron McCollum is really a super soldier or not. So if you guys, there's a poll, should be like maybe up like towards the top of the chat, but let me know, like let me know what you think. Like, do you think that he is or isn't a really super soldier? Do you buy this or do not buy this? So cast your vote. And I probably will do it like just a community post poll, like with like after this video is done, and I'll probably just like promote it. But I'll add that poll to that too as well. Like, do you guys believe this or do you not believe it?
Bad.
And not all of them were. Sometimes it was people of special interest. Sometimes it was children. It was a wide variety, but that would take a lot to. It took me 2 hours in an interview just a week ago to explain some of it.
When you say you went to pick these people up and bring them back, you brought them back to where?
Okay, when I was actually fully part of doing military abductions, we would receive directives and orders, and you could say a dossier on a certain person and or group of people, because it does happen in group settings too. We would know what reason it was for. We would go, we would find them. We didn't always know where they were. We had to locate them, and then we would bring them back to a designated installation. Sometimes it was underground. Sometimes it was a regular military installation. Sometimes it was an above ground, you could say, secret installation. One of the common places that I would take people to is an underground facility that is in the northern bay of San Francisco, at what is above ground, called a naval weapons munition base. But actually, there's a much greater facility underneath.
Okay. And when you took the people there, first of all, how did you go? Again, are we talking, because you said that at first you said it was sort of half the normal part of the Coast Guard division. And then the other part you said was like the Black Ops.
Yes.
So in what kind of vehicle at this point were you going
Okay,
to?
at this point, this was definitely highly advanced vehicle. TR-3Bs.
What does it matter what vehicle he was in, really? But it's almost like she's setting him up to go, well, what kind of vehicle was it? Oh, it was a super advanced one. It was major technology. It's the same thing as like, well, how did you get there? How did you fly? What kind of spaceship were you in? Oh, I was in the triangle one with the, the thing, and It's like she almost like baits him. Like, now you're going to have to make it more, it seems like it's more sensationalized.
The black triangles?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Were commonly used. We use those a lot. The thing about those specific craft is that light configuration can be changed to make it look like a normal plane, and even the sound emitted from it can be altered. So if it's really dark out, what you see lights that appear to be maybe like a 747. It sounds like a 747. I'm not saying this is always the case, but there's always that chance that it could be a TR-3B. Well, of course, there's a new model now. The old model has already been, is far outdated.
I wonder if he's the guy at the bar that's at the, that just goes on and just makes up stories and just goes on, okay, yeah, Aaron, all right.
They got the new Aurora, which is I have it somewhere with the classification, but it's far more advanced. I mean, we're talking anywhere in the world in under 12 minutes.
Okay, but I'm assuming you're not an expert on military aircraft, but at the same time, you rode in this vehicle. So can you describe anything about its capability in terms of, in other words, could it, at that time, and we're talking, I don't know, what year?
I know what you're talking about. We're talking, I mean, I rode those things off and on from 1999 until, 2005. So, and I know what you're referring. Directional, yes. Multi-directional. They could move any way because of the.
And what about
propulsion
in terms
systems.
of the speed? Do you know how fast it could go? Could it go faster than light speed?
I know that on some occasions, I remember going from the United States to Azerbaijan, that country, and we reached it in under 30 minutes. And that's pretty much on the other side of the globe.
Yeah. So these abductions that you were doing, were they, in other words, you said terminate or bring them back?
That was two of the categories under the conditions of, yes, termination. Well, a termination was not a military abduction. Termination was a termination. The whole point of the abduction was to take them alive, bring them back for whatever purpose. But there were also a scope of things. There's also, it goes on to, and again, I described this in this other interview I just did, where you're talking about occasionally people slip through the cracks, children, even adults. Every human, every baby that's born in the United States, DNA sample is taken. That DNA sample then goes into a network. That network can be accessed by special projects. Through decades and decades, they have managed to where, knowing the history of the family lineage, they can tell on the basic DNA level the possibilities of what this child is capable of. It's not a perfect system, though. Occasionally, children do something.
Clovis, so you're coming at the good time. Now about halfway through, this is where it just gets like, woo! All right, here we go.
Okay, so let's just use an example. Someone hears about maybe a child with telepathy or doing telekinesis, or even, you hear of a little girl that's in a shopping mall that screams, all of a sudden windows shatter. Well, then one of the many special projects takes interest, and they want that girl, they want that young woman, they want that man. So they say, okay, go get him. If my team selected to do so, we're given the information. We go, we find this person, we bring them back to whatever designated facility. Now, they may not be gone forever. It could be because you have what's called subjects of opportunity. They're taken, they're used for whatever purpose. We give them false implied memories, slip them something, they're returned back. And maybe we never use them again. Maybe we decide we need them in a month. Or not for years. That's one of many.
Did you dress up a certain way? Were you working with ETs?
Yes. There were 3 conditions. Now, you had actual plain daylight abductions where you could either be masked as like a police or some kind of official member, and where you draw them into a situation to grab them, or I could be dressed like this. Obviously, I didn't have the earrings or as many of the tattoos at the time, but we would use several different drugs. One of them was called scopamine. Scopamine, I could literally take and dip it on the edge of a toothpick. And let's say you're my target, Carrie. I've tracked you down. You're at a cafe. I can either wait till you get to go use the restroom, and I could put some of this minute amount in your coffee, or I could literally actually bump into you and rub it on your skin. I then wait for it to come into effect.
That's freaking scary. I don't know if you guys probably have looked into that drug. That drug is frightening.
And I walk over to you, and this is how this drug works. It's very dangerous. I say, hi, Carrie, I'm Aaron. Now, you don't know me at all. You've never met me, but you react, hi. I said, well, listen, come with me.
Like right here, does he seem like, I'm not accusing anybody of doing drugs, but sometimes he seems a little tweaky to me. I'm just reading that, but I could be wrong.
You come with me happily. You pay your check, you grab your purse, you come with me willingly. I take you in my car or in your car or whatever. I take you to a facility. Then whatever's been designated for you happens. If you are returned back, you're returned back and you have no memory. That's what the drug does. It's a very volatile, very dangerous drug, and it was one of the, you could say it was one of the drugs of my choice when I was doing abductions.
Okay, so were you the leader of
it
this
was
group?
my drug of choice when I was doing abductions for the government. For aliens, damn it, not for just myself. It's my favorite drug of choice when I was like, abducting people and taking them underground. All right.
Groups?
The team that happened after 2001, yes, I was the team leader.
Why were you the team leader?
Because I said I was.
Because I was really good at my job.
What does being good at that job mean?
I had a very high success rate. It was above 97%.
Okay, and did you have you didn't have the earrings and the tattoo at that time?
No, I didn't have the earrings. I didn't have the tattoos on my neck. I didn't have them on my hands, but I did have a lot on my arms. You were talking about uniform. I don't know if I sent you a picture of the uniform that I wore, and I was able to obtain parts of my old uniform, one of my old uniforms through some other means. Black gloves, full black turnout gear, flak vest, hood, goggles, whole 9 yards. We weren't allowed to wear watches, You weren't allowed to wear anything that would separate you, even no markations, no American flag, no U.S. Coast Guard, no nothing. When I was
No
actually
earrings, no earrings. Don't forget the earrings.
facility at Procy, we did have a certain symbol that we wore, which was the Seagate symbol. But so we were completely black. We were non-denomination. I did have 2 females on my team. When they were suited up, you couldn't even tell that they were women.
Okay, but you can't take somebody and rub them with this drug in being suited up like that, right?
No, that in that uniform was strictly night operations. That was done for night ops.
Okay, and what is a night op?
A night op would be, well, let's use this place for example. You're here, you're at home, you're asleep, and the moment of opportunity, we've received the green light. So if this place had an alarm system, we would obviously disable it. I would have, and for this kind of operation, I'd probably only bring maybe a couple more people, maybe 2 or 3 other people on my team. We would have some come up the balcony this way.
Oh my God!
We would have, and then come up through the front entrance. We would go into where you were asleep. We would shoot a cocktail into you, which would be a combination of either scopamine, GBH, LSD, or BZ, or one of, and there's reasons for that.
This sounds absolutely diabolical, but I mean it's because he's in the program, right? He's in Seagate, so this is an on-land gig too, right? So he will be swimming soon, going into a portal, in the water here in a bit, but we'll get there in a second.
If we wanted to make it appear that was an alien abduction to create a hallucinogenic effect. And then we would carry you out, we would lock everything up, take you to the vehicle, the craft, and then we'd be gone.
What about the neighbors and dogs and things like that?
Oh, we weren't concerned with that.
Why?
Because we could get in and get out without them noticing.
Okay.
Complete in and out without any sound. Even being able to, you're talking about even picking a lock at night. Dogs will even sleep through that. I mean, you can be that quiet.
Oh,
So
no.
you were going on these operations
Okay, all right.
that you were calling my labs, military abductions, and you said you're working with ETs. Which
Grays.
ETs? Grays?
Grace.
Okay, and do you recall this, or
No,
is
I
this...
do recall some of this. These are things that I had a little bit difficulty coming to terms with or even accepting no more than a couple years ago. And again, and a lot of these memories were reconfirmed when I was called back to duty in 2008, when I still didn't know who I was. And all of a sudden I've got these military personnel who are taking me to Camp Pendleton. We're meeting with this general. And he literally opens up what he had of a dossier of me, and they're showing operations, they're showing images, they're showing things that I was a part of. They showed me that on my NSA file, it says, Petty Officer, 2nd Class.
Bonus. It's interesting that you interviewed Holly. I did too. And Holly claims to have worked with him or to have known Aaron. But see, I have to admit, like right now, I mean, Holly is a nice person, but I have a feeling, and I've kind of had a falling out with Holly because I have a feeling that Holly is also, I don't think she's totally on the level. I just don't, because she's validating this guy. She's basically, she does the same pattern that a lot of these super soldier guys do, which means that they all somehow know each other. And, okay, maybe not. They're not all of them are in the same generation of age. And they also hybrid some sort of spirituality to their narrative. Either it's a new age kind of, shaman type of thing, a la Sarah Rachel Adams, or it's Christianity. And I think Holly, I had an issue of how she interpreted I didn't want to talk about Holly tonight, but I understand how she interpreted the Bible and the way she twisted it. And I just felt like she was manipulating people just the same through, saying this is Christian as Sarah Rachel. I saw no difference between her and Sarah in the end in what they were doing. It was just they were going from a different perspective. And so, like, I'm having a hard time believing that she's real. And I wanted to like her, and I've had panels with her, and part of me still likes her, but she doesn't pass the test for me. And when it really comes down to it, I've just got to. I got to go with that. I actually kind of got angry at her about her interpretation about the Bible, and I feel like I might have gotten a little. I might have been more curt with her than I wish I had been, but I'm just not. I'm not buying her. I'm sorry. But I'm sorry, and you're close. So, but don't. I hope you don't just go tell her like she thinks this is it. Blank, blank, blank. I'm just having a hard time believing it at this point. But yeah. I mean, I wish this was all real, but at the same time, you have to look at it and go, is this just a grift? Like, do you believe his face right there? Like, it's only their testimony. Like, how do they validate it? How do they prove their story? How do we know this is true? And if it is true, to what level is it true? Like, who's the real super soldier if there is one? Or who is their person? I totally believe that they use psychics and remote viewers and all that kind of stuff. That's already been proven through Jim Channon. But some of the guys who Carrie's interview, charismatic, they're good looking, you want to watch them. I eat this shit up. I love it. I got my popcorn here. Part of me loves it. But I have to say that I'm keeping, like, for the most part, I keep it at this right now, especially this guy. When we get into the dolphin stuff, I'm like, oh, I don't know. He was the one that, for me, out of all of them, his story was the least likely to be real. And then Holly says that she worked with him. And I've even had shows with her, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about Aaron. I've even said that to her. I'm not buying Aaron McCollum. I'm sorry, I'm just not. I want to like him. I think he's interesting. He disappeared. Apparently, there's people that are saying that he went homeless, and I feel bad that if he's homeless, I feel bad for him because you never want to wish that on anybody. But I know he's very interesting. He's not.
Class Aaron McCollum, sure.
As he has a different story than the other ones do because it's Seagate. If Seagate ever really even existed.
Number 13-038957, killed in action, 1999. So according to whoever doesn't need to know about me, I technically have died in action at some point in 1999.
But you're still running around town with this name and so on and so forth. Okay, I mean, because I also want to address why you've been allowed to get away with what you're doing.
I haven't entirely been allowed to get away with what I've been doing. I have received threats. Certain family members have received threats, and I myself have had attempts.
And that's another thing too. They've all had their life in danger. They're all risking themselves to be a whistleblower. They've all had their family be like whatever, it's like, I guess like maybe that could be true if you are a whistleblower. I mean, that would be the obvious, but I don't know.
On my life, as recently as, that had to have been 5 months ago when I was hit by a car at not full speed, obviously, but the witnesses said that the car was going 35, 40 miles an hour and it hit me dead on. And
were you in a car at the time it hit you?
No, I was walking. It hit me straight on. I was going across a crosswalk where the light was go for me, and the car peeled around the corner and then came up, and it just happened so fast, and I flew over the car, hit the ground. I blacked out. I woke up in the ER, and with many times before, the doctor sat there and said, I have no idea how you don't have any broken bones. You don't have any stitches. I didn't even have really any bruises. I pretty much walked away from it. They took me because they didn't know who I was, and it was, standard procedure, obviously. Ambulance shows up, they put me in the neck brace. I do remember telling them, no, I'm fine. They're like, no, please. So I'm just like, okay, I'll let you guys go along with this.
Did you question at any point?
Kind of flipped there for a second. I want to go back on that for just a little tiny bit. Hold on. His eyes flip weird. Watch.
The ambulance shows up, they put me in the neck brace. I do remember telling them, no, I'm fine. They're like, no, please. So I'm just like, okay, I'll let you guys go along with this.
There was.
Did you question at any point what you were doing?
No. You don't question when you're grown up to never question. You just do. You just act. You see, people like Duncan, myself, and even another former teammate.
So, like, he's name dropping now. Duncan Ophidian, myself. He's like he's part. His narrative is that he has worked alongside these guys. That he is part. He's coming now forward with his side of the story, and be with Duncan and everybody else.
Acts, I'll refer to her as that. You're raised and you're conditioned through even electroshock therapy or splitting the altars where now, of course, if you do an operation in an altar, which I did many that obviously I don't remember, but I know because of missing time, you're robotic. But even in the person that you see now that actively did black operations, you don't question it, you don't feel anything. You're not allowed to. And if you do, well, you better not show it because then you're going to get reprogrammed. I've been able to get in contact. Well, I was in contact with a number of people that were on my team. And after contact was made, suddenly these people disappeared. Or I would go from trying to get information out of them because they maybe remember a little bit more than me. And then the next day contacted me and they're going, I don't know who you are. Please stop contacting me.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have been completely, they completely taken me out. Now you said, how am I able to survive of all that? That's a whole nother story we could get into another time. But let's just say that I had a guy show up when I was living in Phoenix. He knew everything about me. He said that he worked for the company that's telling me CIA.
Phoenix, Arizona. There's always something going on in Arizona, isn't there?
Or something even more further. And he disagreed with what took place with me, and he was the guy responsible for setting up what is basically my pension, the money that I get now. He came and he went. I don't know who he was, some good Samaritan, but without him, I don't know what I would be able to do.
Let's fast forward now because
Okay.
we've talked about the military abductions that you were going on, and that was during what years?
It actually happened off and on from 1999 to 2005. That was one of my many collateral duties.
Okay, but
I was a multi-mission person.
I understand. And
Yeah, Jeff, she does. Like that's part of her interviewing style is that she leads the witness. She leads the narrative for her guest. So, I was in this kind of plane. I was, bling, yeah. So Michael, interesting you mentioned Michael Jaco is still pushing that. Yeah. Michael Jaco, let me tell you something about Michael Jaco. I want to just make mention. About a couple years ago, maybe a couple years ago, Michael Jaco and Simon Parks and somebody named, she went by Mel K, and there's another guy named David something. They all ended up showing up on these cooking channels that were had 300K subscribers originally, but they were in India or in an Asian country. And what a lot of people thought was that they were somehow getting access to like channels were being sold or passed off. Like there were a certain amount of numbers, and then all of a sudden you would stop seeing like how to cook a nice naan bread, right? Nice and naan. And it would be like Simon Park's picture would be up there, and Michael Jaco was definitely a part of that grift. Totally. Yeah.
Then you did work with Project Seagate.
Yes.
So now we need to kind of go in that direction.
Okay, let me just give a little bit of history of Project Seagate first. And that'll help people understand. About 30 years ago, the Navy and NOAA, which is the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, who does a lot of research on the water, they were doing some surveying in the area of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, that whole area, some water surveying. Why they were doing that, I don't have the details, but I know that they were. And they had ground penetrating radar that they were using. They found something. They found something big underneath the seabed off the west coast of Puerto Rico. So excavation commenced, and they found what was to appear to be a very large abandoned facility, not of human technology. Now, at this time, of course, the United States government.
Technology, of course. They couldn't say like, oh, they found abandoned, a pirate ship with gold underneath it. No, it's technology, abandoned alien technology that, yes, that's what it is.
Government already had a treaty with certain extraterrestrial beings, with the Greys, the reptilians, and even a few other that had taken interest.
There you go with the reptilians. Reptilians' lives matter. Okay, let's move on.
So working with them, they were able to uncover and they had to reverse engineer it, because even today, they're still not sure who or what built this.
So it wasn't a.
It's funny if somebody like tattooed on their fingers, like pull my finger. Never mind. Okay.
Gray base.
No, absolutely not. No, this was not Gray technology, but they were able to figure out through trial and error and a lot of reverse engineering.
And you know this information how?
I know this information from 2 people that I worked with prior to, and 1 person as an operator.
Oh, made up. Like, you know this information how? Like, is he going to give her an answer that's going to be proof of anything? No, it's not.
An operator by means, this was a person who actually was a scientist, more of an engineer that was on facility.
Meaning worked at this facility once it was activated. This underwater base.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the underwater base, is that what you call Project Seagate, or that's called?
Well,
is there another
Project Seagate was the name of the project, the operations of.
Actually, I made up Project Seagate.
Around there. Think of it like, okay, you've got MK Ultra, Mark Ultra, that has many, many sub-projects. Project Seagate itself had several sub-projects.
So this was a sub-project.
This was a sub-project that had sub-projects itself. This is what makes it so complicated, because a project is designed like Montauk, and then they discover all these other things that they do.
Here we go. We're going to bring in Montauk, right? Okay, so you got to include all of the hot points. Montauk. Now we go with Montauk. By the way, though, I do want to say, or I don't know if you guys know this, but the series Stranger Things, the original script was called Montauk, or the Montauk Project. It really was like, it was kind of based on this, or not this, but the Montauk conspiracy. Okay, so, you could base a movie, you could base anything on something. Just because like Hollywood does it doesn't mean that it exists, but then sometimes it makes you wonder if Hollywood does it because some of it exists. So there's always that little question. Or, were they listening to, Stuart Swerdlow, and they go, yeah, let's do a script and make it like, give it a 70s theme and have it be their Montauk and 11, and there are people now that believe that they are 11. Like, I think it's like, is it Penny Shepherd that actually is who also, I think, if I'm thinking it right, Penny Shepherd was working with Michael Jaco and those guys. So she's in that loop, but she states that her true story is that she's 11. She's what that series is. She's who that series is based on. But then you have somebody else that says, "Oh, and I'm the MK Ultra girl that was in that picture back in 1965." And there's two women arguing about that, and so who's to say, really?
They branch off. This is something they do purposely because it's hard to track. The base itself was actually called PROSEA, PROSEA. That's what they called it. I know that there was another name. There was a serial number code for the base, but I don't remember what that was.
Okay, and this was under the water.
Notice how nobody drops Sean David Morton's name, though. Hey, what about that, Jeff? Nobody's saying like Sean David Morton was there. No.
It wasn't. Okay, there are now. They have parts of it that are on the seabed floor, but most of the facility is actually underneath the seabed. So it's an underwater / underground facility.
Okay. Now, when you say it was called PROSEA, where did you get that information? Did you remember it, or was it told to you? That was
what I was shown as part of the dossier I was shown back in 2008 when I was being recalled. So they figured, you got to recall a guy. I'm sitting there really freaking out. We're going to show this guy who he really is.
Did you have no memory when you were freaking out at that point, or did you have some?
I had what I only thought were hysterical hallucinations. I really thought this is why, which I haven't talked about this much, but I made an attempt to kill myself in 2006 because I just had it. I'd had it with not sleeping, with waking up, with these night terrors, screaming, sweats, flashbacks, coming in and out of consciousness, waking up in one city, or showing up in a different city. It was chaos. My life was chaos.
How many altars do you think you have, or do you know?
I'll tell you what I've been told, and I'll tell you what it's been actually factually logged. I have actual witnesses, and several more whistleblowers that have talked on Project Camelot, and others have done other people that I worked with in the past. I've had about 12 separate altars that were witnessed. What I was told, is that I have somewhere in the number of 36 separate altars. But I haven't been able to get enough substantial evidence, but I have substantial evidence on 12.
You're going into this base. What was happening at the base, and how were you involved?
Okay. Here's where things get a little interesting. The base had sub-projects. One of the sub-projects, which was part of what is known as the Omega program. And the Omega program does a multitude of things. It creates soulless beings. So I'm talking about cloning humans that do not have a consciousness. They are basically a host. They are a shell that can be used to put the consciousness of another person in there. That's used for.
And this is the same Omega project that was documented on the Heather material.
Yes.
Okay, and you've connected with Ben.
I've connected with Ben, and you could say I've connected with Heather via Ben.
Okay.
That's a whole nother interesting thing, because Heather has a direct connection to Project Seagate that I had no idea about.
Okay. And we want to talk about that. So at some point, we're going to diverge to talk about that in a little more depth. But at this point, let's answer this question so far as to what was going on there and what was your involvement.
Okay. So the Omega project, which the Omega is, again, a classification for genetically engineered beings. The one that Dr. Deagle was on was with the Human Jackal program. Okay, and that was basically a super soldier program where they were combining human and jackal DNA, which jackal power.
Oh my that just sounds awful, right? Human jackal program. I mean, oh, wow.
Pound are one of the strongest animals. Project Seagate adopted an aquatic side of it, where they were combining human and dolphin DNA to create, you could say, an aquatic type super soldier who had the abilities of telepathy, echolocation, being able to hold the breath for an extremely long time underwater, being even better at adapting to cold. Dolphins themselves can actually change their body heat depending on if they go up to the Arctic or if they're down in the equator.
Okay, so
So, like, remember, like he said, they can, change their body heat. Dolphins, he could change his body heat. So he is like in the dolphin program. We're gonna get more into that.
So that was
are
one
we
of the
talking
projects.
about, you're saying genetically engineered, are they using human and dolphins, but are they ending up to look more like which?
There was a wide range. Initially, the project, as in with a lot of genetic manipulation, they had a lot of failures where you get things like the thing that I
No shit. You can just imagine the failures we're gonna get.
really, it disgusts me how they label it, the pictures of the Panamanian monster, which is not a monster. I think I showed you those pictures, and those pictures, if not, I'll get them to you, are of what you could say more of not a desired creation due to the project. Occasionally, underwater field exercises would happen and one would get away. This is when they expanded to where all exercises were done at a huge sea pool, is what they call it, that's actually in the bay, so that they weren't actually out in the open. They were more in an enclosure.
But are they looking human?
Well, they do two models. They do a model that looks closer to dolphin,
right,
and they have a model that's much more closer to human.
Bye, Clovis. Thanks for stopping by.
And what was your involvement?
My involvement with that was several reasons. One, I worked with the actual full-blooded dolphins because part of the program was I was selected in a very small group of people part of the Super Soldier program to learn certain traits that dolphins could do. One of them, which I think I talked about in the first interview, was echolocation synchronicity. What does that mean? That means that basically it means that the dolphins, which were more or less the instructors, were teaching humans how to do echolocation. This is not fantasy. This is something that really happens. In fact, it can happen in normal state. There's a 5-year-old blind boy who just made it on the news a couple weeks ago, who his mother was taking him out with dolphins, and the dolphins taught him how to echolocate. Now this boy doesn't need a cane. He walks around and he does echolocation all the time.
Okay, but echolocation is what? Is this
Echolocation
bilocation?
is, you could say, biological radar. They put out a frequency, it bounces off an object, it comes back, and therefore they can measure how big it is and how far away it is. It's what sonar is.
Okay. All right, so you're saying you worked with dolphins to do what?
To learn how to do echolocation, and as well, I also was one of the. All right, let's get into the real bread and butter of Project Seagate then.
Let's get into it.
Now, there was an alien side of things that were done. We can talk about that later. There was the Super Soldier aquatic program with the dolphin-human hybrids. Then there was the real thing. The real aim of Project Seagate was that there's a portal.
Okay.
It is a portal that can be used. It was such a unique portal that, as far as I've been told, it's the only one on the planet. At least it's the only active one on the planet, as far as I know, because I don't recall being to any other ones. This portal can be used for interdimensional travel, off-planet travel, and under the right conditions, when it's set up right, can be used for time travel.
Okay.
Now, you're asking, I know, and I'm getting that, sorry. What was my role? The team that I was with, which was called the Sentinels, which was a team of very highly trained people that had
Okay, isn't that ironic that the team that he was with was called the Sentinels? Okay, for those of you who get that.
abilities to adjust to water in certain ways because the portal is actually underwater. Now, these Seagates that are located in other places also are underwater. What they had to do initially, about 20 years ago, they had sent some people through, but they weren't returning. And they had everything set up right. To talk about I have a schematic, but to talk about the science behind it, I don't really know. I know that, there was a certain room that was called the dome room, which was the room for creating the coordinates. They had these remote viewers that had another role playing it. They sent drones through the portal, and the drones had, through taking pictures, had discovered that the people on their side had died, sometimes violently. It was not because of a malevolent race. We're not the only planet that has water, but water on different planets has different characteristics, different chemical breakdown, different chemical makeup. So what they started doing was they had these drones that were bringing in samples of this water, and now what they have there, which they've had there it was there when I was already there, they had what was called the acclimation room, where you had tanks of water. This is why it'd be good at some point for you to interview Axe, my counterpart, because Axe was part of all of this, and she will give further in depth on some things. The water was of different characteristics.
So you've got a little buddy to back up a story, right? Like, obviously you have, if more than one person is saying that something's true, then they must be true. So he's got his validation backup.
They would place dolphins and sometimes humans, not the desired dolphins, maybe rejects or humans that were my labs into this water, see how they would react. People like me, people like Axe, they found were kind of anomalies. We could acclimate to any water. So let's just get to the point. Myself, Axe, and a few others were used to jump through this for more high priority missions.
Okay, missions going to what? Other dimensions? Going time traveling elsewhere in the solar system?
Yes,
universe?
going to part of this facility was also worked in correlation with the naval galactic fleet, and even
Space Command.
the Space Command, which there's a lot of people involved in Space Command. I think the last I heard there was about 600,000 Earth humans that are part of Space Command, that all have that are part of Majestic and Cosmic.
Okay, well, last you heard from, how did you hear that information?
I heard that from, actually, it was it's someone that I heard it in a recent interview. I can't remember the name of the person. It'll come to me, maybe even after the interview, I figure, but there's one of your whistleblowers had mentioned this sometime about a year ago.
Okay.
Maybe it's
it might be
Green.
the Han Solo individual that we haven't even released the interview, but I don't quite know. Maybe that was related to you by one of the other people.
I know it was related through that means, but that's a year old information.
Okay, so you were used to time travel and go on operations where?
All over the place. This is why. Okay, one of the reasons why Duncan, Opinion, and Axe and I wanted to have a full interview was so that there was some better cooperation, because it's just me talking. It's better if you have other people. There were operations that had been done in Cambodia back in the late 60s that I have memory of being a part of, that Duncan has memories of being a part of. and that Axe have memories of being a part of, and that even Dave Corso has memories of being a part of.
Right, but technically you weren't born then.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was born in 78, according to what I was told and what records I have.
Okay.
Do I remember?
That's my favorite part of the whole thing. That's my favorite. But technically you weren't born yet. Yes, well, according to my records. It's like that to me is the ultimate, oh shit, I didn't get my timelines right. Yeah, I wasn't born in during the Vietnam War. Even at best, he would be a baby. I was a baby during the Vietnam War, and a child growing up. Okay, not this. I wouldn't even be fighting that war, let alone this guy. Maybe Duncan O'Finian. Okay, maybe Dave Corso. Okay, maybe, but not him. And then when she says, "But you weren't born then," yeah, but according to my paperwork, I was born in 1978. No shit. No, really? You're kidding me. So he's leaving us up to believe that, yeah, he's a time traveler, or he's not human totally, or he's a clone, or something. He's got the forceps thing going on. His parents can't remember his birth. He's a chimera. He's a human chimera, is what I think he's trying to tell people. I was created to be a dolphin boy. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called him a dolphin boy, but you know what I'm saying.
Do I have memories of being off-world? Yes. Do I remember exactly where they were? No. Am I working on to find that out? Yes. But it takes time. I'm actually working on what's kind of known as a metaphysical psychic detox.
I feel like at this
something
point
that.
Oh my God, I have to recover this interview because I really effed up, okay, wait.
Developed specifically for me, which has been opening up a lot of memories and a lot of other unique things. My abilities, I would say, my special relationship with water has been increasing. Everything from someone watching me, someone that you've met, watching me put my hand over a pot of water and a bolt of I don't say a bolt, but it was definitely about an inch away and a thing of electricity shot into my hand. Another incident where I was in an alternate state, or again, another one of your whistleblowers witnessed, where I had my hand in a bowl of water and this dark matter came out, and then suddenly Duncan is not under this attack that he was under. Carrie, since the first time you and I spoke, I've had so many things come to surface that.
Let me tell you about Duncan, all right? And this is somebody that bought tickets to this event, okay? She told me that Duncan O'Finian had a super soldier, like a defense class or something like that. People paid for hotel rooms, a series of seminars to be taught by Duncan O'Finian, and he did not show up and his excuse was that he was doing battle in the astral plane. Okay, and to my knowledge, he did not refund their tickets or the hotels or anything. He just took the money.
God, we could sit here for 8 hours and maybe get some of it.
If you could sum it up, what is the military doing down there? What's the purpose?
Okay, 3 main things. 1, the Dolphin Human Hybrid Program, where they're still creating, they're still developing, they're still coming up with advancements and make no mistake, they're building an army, and they're of ones that look more dolphin and ones that look more human. They also, with the Project Seagate portal, they use some of these hybrids they make are without souls, so they're used through these remote viewers, the 10 remote viewers that sit in what's called the row of chairs, where they can use them for more expendable missions, where if the body itself gets damaged, they can actually bring back the consciousness of that human into its real body.
Oh, right. And we talked about this in the last interview. In other words, but
I really don't like to compare movies to reality, But that Avatar movie
Yeah.
is
Absolutely.
not out of this world technology.
Yeah.
That is happening right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just Project Seagate. There are other sub-projects that are using the same technology, just for different purposes.
No, I've heard that. I haven't heard that it was like, he's saying that it's technology right now. What I've heard is that that is technology that the elite wish to have. Now, this is again conspiracy, right? But because it would mean that they would be able to transfer their soul into other, suits, bodies, or you could like transfer over to AI and become part of the virtual reality. You guys know that. I'm preaching to the choir. There's tons of movies about that happening right now. So a lot of people think that that's actually, a goal, right?
Ace is also, there's a section of Proceed that is ran and operated by Greys and Reptilian, and not just them, but a few other races as well that have, you could say, decided to jump on the team. They are doing a lot of different projects because Project Seagate is also connected to, there is an underground maglev that goes to Autek, which is at Bimini Island. There is also 2 small satellite entrances. They call them satellite entrances. They're small, like hubs. One that's located in
Siren, I agree with you. He maybe could have like done really well for a while. Like he was coming out like when Duncan was out and James Casbolt and everybody else. All of a sudden I saw some videos of like where he was retaliating against people criticizing him and stuff. And it's like it's if he couldn't take the criticism or something. I don't know. There was something, and then he just kind of disappeared.
Croix off of what's called Rainbow Beach, and another one in Water Island in St. Thomas. That actually relates to part of what Duncan was part of back in 2003, 2004. But what a lot of people don't know, and it's only been mentioned on a few occasions, is there's actually a total of 12 underground bases in the Caribbean, but only 2 of them are ran and where humans are allowed. The other 10 are strictly all exclusive extraterrestrials.
Okay, what about the one off of Catalina? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Do you think you've been in it?
I've been to Catalina. I remember being to Catalina when I was a kid. In fact, I recently found out from my sister that she and my brother, when they were, I think in junior high, so what's that, like 12, 13, they both were shipped off at separate times to Houston for space camp. But they don't really remember space camp. When I got to that age, I was shipped off to Catalina Island for some kind of marine biology scuba camp thing. That was like the equivalent of space camp, but for that. I remember going to Catalina, but I don't.
You were a monkey. I'm sorry. You got to go scuba diving. Okay, I'm sorry. That's rude.
Remember what took place or leaving.
Okay.
But I do know that there is, because a lot of USO underwater or unidentified submersible objects are seen off of the Catalina. But here's another thing that people may not be aware of that see this. Puerto Rico is one of the major hotspots for UFO and USO sightings in the world. 95% of these sightings that get reported never make it to the media. Because Puerto Rico, off of Puerto Rico, and that whole area in the Caribbean, you're talking 12 underground facilities, and only 2 are ran by the United States, Autek and Proceed.
Okay. And the other ones are run by off-world
Various off-world
ETs.
beings. They're not all gray and reptilian. There's various ones. Several are benevolent.
Okay, well, describe one.
Well, one is the Syrians.
Okay, and what do they look like?
The Syrians are kind of a bluish, a very kind of a light bluish look to them. But then there's other ones that have are more of a.
Do they look like chickens a little bit? Do they look like chickens?
It's like a bluish, tannish color. They range from 5'4" to about my height, 6'2". They do have a wide range of hair. They're not like you see in these pictures where you have these pictures on the internet where every race is tall blondes. Oh, here's a picture of John, oh, he's tall blonde. Oh, he's
Does their hair have a tuft on it and they look like chickens? Are they blue chickens?
He's tall blonde. That's not the case at all. One of the other groups is a group that's not well known. That's Lyran. And then the other ones range from, there is one that's grays.
Right.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
but,
they're always talking about the Lyran. Always.
There's another one that's actually Arcturian.
okay, but are they humanoid? The ones you've seen?
The ones I've seen are humanoid, as in bipedal humanoid, yes. But Arcturians aren't exactly humanoid because they prefer to stay in kind of the fifth density, but they can move up densities. And
Okay. So you were exposed, I'm assuming, to these beings as well.
on various occasions, yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that I always worked with them, but you would see them. Specifically at the base that I was at, they had their own section that was, people talk about majestic clearance and cosmic clearance. Well, the ETs don't care about, or you show up and say, well, I've got majestic clearance. So they were working on a whole different scope of things that I only got to see part of it on a few times. And a lot of it was working with, a lot of it was with the ocean and with doing genetic modifications of certain sea life.
Okay, but I guess I'm not clear on what you actually did.
Okay, yeah, I know, because we got kind of off track. Let me just put it this way. My team, when things went wrong, and it was on the level of cosmic or majestic clearance, on the cosmic clearance level, we're talking, space fleet level.
My team. All right, so I'm going to stop it here a little bit. I'm going to move it up a little bit farther. Just kind of go more into here. See where it. We're probably going to wrap it up here pretty soon.
How they do this? They have to psychotropic drugs, electroshock, and some other methods. There are parts of your brain that are not designed to hold memory. What they do through this process is they shift. Imagine they shift all your memory from one side of the brain into the other, and then they can either leave that blank.
There's really nothing. There's not nothing new in what he's saying here. So, I've been going for about 2 hours and 15 minutes, or maybe even longer than that. I started about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So sometimes I try not to go too far from that, but. Right. So there's a poll. So you guys do your vote. Do you think he's real? Do you think he's not real? Is he really a super soldier? I don't know about you, but sometimes I watch it and I start to get pulled into it. I'm like, oh, yeah, it almost certain things he says, and you're like, I want to believe that, or I think it's possible. Part of me, it's fascinating to listen to, but for me, I'm going to say no, he's not real. That would be my vote. But what's your take? Now, there's something that Stephen Cambion, I don't think he's still here tonight, but he showed up at the beginning. Shout out to Truth Seekers. But he sent something to me today. He DM'd me something that I want to share with you. And apparently, this is the Project Stargate, the real list of Project Stargate. And you know what? I want to where did I put that at? Hold on. I think let me come back for a second. Don't go away. I think that so Yeah, I'm doing my show from a different location. This is actually my living room. This is my couch. But there is because I want to get the exact wording that he said. Now again, I'm just taking Cambian's word for it on this. So again, I haven't. I mean, I don't think Cambian lies, but he says. So always take everything, anything that we do, like here, use discernment, right? Anything that the key thing that I guess I'm sharing, media is fascinating to me, and then like how media gets, like for example, what part does Carrie Cassidy play in what we think is real in the world? Like what has her show done to what we think is our spirituality, our reality? All the conspiracies, how it crosses, how she's crossed over with the 17th letter of the alphabet, how the super soldiers have crossed over to the to the conspiracies of the 17th letter of the alphabet. So like why at one point was James voting for Trump? Like why how did Carrie Cassidy become considered right wing? Like how did these like I don't know. I just to see how it flows is like if you were to like I always think about like making charts, like making a diagram or connecting how this went to this to what this how it transferred into different movements even. Okay, so but Cambian says this is a list of all of the Project Stargate participants. If someone is not on this list and they claim they were part of the project, then they are full of shit. This list hasn't been confirmed. This list has been confirmed by multiple known and verified participants and Russell Targ, who ran the program. If you are not on the list, you are a bullshitter. And that is from something that, Stephen Cambian wrote about this. So I'm going to go ahead and share it with you. No. The list, right? So here's the list. Hartley Trent, Ken Bell, Joe McManogy, Paul H. Smith, Mel Riley, Lynn Buchanan, Charlene Kavanaugh, Rob Coward, Robin D., Davis Morehouse, Greg S., F. Holmes, Atwater, Linda A., Gene Lessman, Tom M., Fern Gavin, Angela D., Gabrielle Penningill, and Ed Dames and Billy Ray. And I might not have pronounced their names correctly, but I'm sure they're probably not watching. But still. So apparently that's the official list for Project Stargate. Now this is Project Seagate. I didn't look up before the show tonight to see if Project Seagate is real or not. But there's 2 of these videos. So eventually I will do an Aaron McCollum part 2. And, and so I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight. I don't normally stream on Sundays, nights like this. It's kind of an off time for me, but I was happy to see all of you guys who did show up tonight. And also my new moderators that I have, I want to give out a special thanks to Jeffrey Reed and also for Pondberger for being a moderator to the show. And I want to also thank you. It ended up that nobody trolled me tonight, which is really nice to have happen on YouTube. And so on that note, I'm going to pull up a little bit of music and just kind of play it out. Also, I guess I should also give a shout out to the creator. The channel that I got this on was Tinfoil Man, and after the show is over, I will link the whole video there. So if you want to like watch it on your own, and watch the whole thing. But it is a really long interview, and I wrote like 2 hours. I think you've got the main parts of it. But if you want to listen to the whole thing, I will make sure that I have it linked after the show. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. And also, I'm going to do like a shameless, plug for myself here for a minute. If you do want to support my work, pretty soon I'm going to have probably like a subscription that you can do here on YouTube where you can see special content, which I'm going to have being created soon. I do have super chats, so next time if I'm streaming, if you want to give me, cup of coffee, pay me for coffee, help me, pay for cat food or books, because I will start to go back to, I'm taking one class over the summer. I'm taking an astronomy class, and I'm also tutoring this summer. So I do go back to work in a couple of weeks and school, but it'll only be one class. It won't be that consuming, and I'll be able to give more content on YouTube. You can also find me I'm on Rumble, Not My Rabbit Hole on Rumble. I'm also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google Play. But I'm going to also be podcasting. I will be blogging soon too. My goal is to start writing on my own. I had one of my news and media literacy professor. We were having to write more journalistic type of content and stuff. And I did get some encouragement. He said I was really a really good writer. He said I was really gifted in that. I was really relatable and an easy read, and that I should be writing every day. And I probably should. So I do have a blog at notmyrabbithole.com, and I will be adding some fresh content to that real soon. I'm going to make myself write, because you have to keep doing. You can't just slack off, right? Like when Stephen Cameron goes slacker, I have been a little bit of a slacker for a couple of weeks, and I've been distracted by things that have been negative, and I got to get out of that negative and go on with, my plans of what I really want to do for content and in creativity. So enough about that, but let me play this out. A good song here, and just a little bit of exit music. I hope you guys are all having you're in a good place in your life. I know that right now we're having a lot of struggles in the world. Things aren't easy. It feels like everything's crazy. And so just walking outside and it's like people have lost their minds, right? Anyway, so I'm going to close out.